Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. We're coming to you live from Uyo in Akwa Ibom State. It's 1 year since the inception of this administration here. We're having a conversation with His Excellency Udom Emmanuel, Governor of Akwa Ibom State. Well, Your Excellency, having looked at or listened to some of the projects that you've spoken about, one thing pops up here. In this country, we'll talk a lot about stealing technology transfer. Now there's a lot of expertise that will be involved in this project for it to start and be sustained. What is the plan to institutionalize this? Are you working with tertiary college of education to ensure that young ones can go there, learn this skill, and remain in this country?
Thank you. If you listen carefully to most of the things I've spoken about, these are vanilla transactions, that the skills required, they are not rocket science. What it needs first is discipline, for people to settle in and know that they have what it takes. Number two is for people to see that they can actually make a living out of it. Because you see, it won't be attractive if you don't open up the space for them to see that there's something out of it. But if you look at especially, I know we keep over the years, I've been hearing this poverty alleviation, skills acquisition. So many of these things, we just pay lip service to them. Because it doesn't take as much as we make it sound. Take, for example, poverty alleviation. To me, I don't believe in distributing money. That's not poverty alleviation. What I'm actually explaining is poverty alleviation, where an old woman in the village can sell her palm kernel at the international market price. Because inappropriate pricing had been the issue. And let me also come back home. Few things we are putting on ground, we also take that into consideration. We are doing a metering assembly plant. We start with assembling the meter. And if you look at the MOU that we've signed and the agreement we've signed, year 1 to 3, assemble. Year 3 to 5, we must have at least certain percentage of local content. So we are graduating up to the fact that by year 10, we should be able to at least get minimum of 90% of what we can couple for those meters to be used here. And these are signed, delivered. And everything we do from day one is moving towards that. The quality of electricity we're supplying there must sustain that. The water, the infrastructure we're building there, even the access road and everything will take through the entire value chain. So I believe if we plan things this way, we'll come to play. Go back even to the cocoa plantation I talked to you about. I started with 450 youths. These 450 youths, once the consultants, these things are so simple. What does it take to shred, prune, spray? It's just knowing what to do at a particular point in time. We used to hear about this story, of a man that the train broke down. And he just went under with a sledgehammer. People had been battling over time. He just used a sledgehammer and just hit somewhere. And the train started moving. They now ask him, why are you charging so much? You just spent less than 20 minutes. He said that hitting that place, you can pay me only one pound. But knowing where to hit, please pay me what I'm asking for. That knowing what to do at that point in time is much of a lesser effort than what we'll be doing all over time. So I think that's the direction.
How do youths key into this project? Because not everybody will play in the big stage.
It's not all, certainly. Our population is large too, because, in Nigeria, not just in Nigeria, all over the world, people tend to move towards the coastal area. There's a simple knowledge. So if somebody tells you that you have more people in the desert than in the coastal area, you need to look at that again. Because all over the world, people tend towards the coastal areas, because that's where you have a lot of things. So not everybody actually will key into it, but definitely and certainly you still have so many who will be interested, who will key into it. And that's why I say we just started with only 450. We trained them on that. And today, I think they are happy doing what they are doing. And also too, you don't need to, they normally say so that if you pay peanuts, you expect monkeys. You also need to let these guys to also be a little bit competitive in terms of what you pay them. Because the output, whatever they will bring out of there, if it's better price, should also actually take care of those overheads. So, and those things to me are not even overheads, they are direct costs. So if there are direct costs for me from that, I take it as cost of production. So if you work it out very well, I think you should be able to afford that. And because government is involved, within the first few years, I don't want to make super abnormal profit. If I can break even, I'm fine. But those guys live fine. I would have been able to transfer a certain mindset, and people should be able to adapt to it.
In all that you've talked about industrialization and all that, issues of power will definitely come into play. And you talked about supplying the right amount of power to these refineries. What are your plans, or what are you doing about power generation, especially seeing that nationally it's not as it should be yet?
If I'd actually followed through my 1 year in office, I wanted to break it down into certain areas before we just went around. There are certain areas that are called housekeeping. Things like, facelift for hospitals, more equipment, water supply, electricity. When we came in, within the first few months in my office, I tried to acquire more license. I got about 685 megawatts license. We are one of the very few states in this country that our power generation plant is working. It's really, really working. We only need to invest more. And it's one of the very few power plants that you have gas 24/7. Because we signed, a supply agreement with Seven Energy, and the state government also promoted a gas processing plant. We are sitting on top of gas, and I don't know. I wonder, because this is a country that we need so much gas, and people are flaring, and even to get something to even evacuate the gas is a problem. It takes you a long period to sign a gas agreement in Nigeria. These are things that are being wasted. That I leave that for another day.
I don't think you should leave it for another day.
No, I leave that for another day because
sorry to cut you there, because some Nigerians are not as privileged as you are. You sit on the Federal Executive Council meeting as well. Shouldn't you also bring this before the table and think, wait a minute, we're all Nigerians. Why are we doing this? It amounts to penny wise, pound foolish when we have a whole lot of challenge in that regard.
Suleiman, let me say something here. We run a unitary system of government.
We do?
Well, I see it that way. The federating units that we have actually will take you federal, state, and local government. Mm-hmm. If you follow through, a state governor, number one, is a chief executive in his own right. But let me also give credit to the present restructuring of NNPC. Bringing a core thoroughbred professional to head NNPC should be able to ease off this. But the time is not there for us. Today, I must say so, at least a major petrochemical plant would have been up and running in Akwa Ibom. The process of signing a gas supply agreement between a joint venture.
If you can take off those red tapeism, sorry, Your Excellency, if you can take off those red tapeism of your state by creating those key, should I say, committees that are driving issues here in the state.
Correct.
That's another template you can sell.
Well, I believe the Group MD of NNPC, he's handling that, because I've listened to him speak severally. He had made presentations to the Federal Executive Council. But given a little time, I think you should be able to correct that. The only challenge that we have, people like, somebody like me, is that I don't have that much time. Because I think we need to be a little bit more liberal in some of these things. I don't see why gas is so important, more than all other solid minerals, that, people are just extracting everywhere without any control. This one, we even have a process, we have control. So all we need to do is just to see how to quicken the process a little bit more. It takes a whole lot. Let me just, let me leave it there for now. We can also come back to that. So what we do now is we set up a gas processing plant that supply the power generation company. It's called Ibom Power Generation Company. So as of today, we are generating about 140. The first train is giving us about 100, 101. The second one is giving us between 35 and 40. That comes a different challenge. so many months I would generate, I would not be able to evacuate because I don't have control of the transmission line. I would generate, I can't evacuate. There are no transmission lines to evacuate. So now what that is forcing me to is that I must also look for a way. In fact, the second turbine that I generate between 35 and 40, I'm trying to look at the way where I can actually take that and consume locally.
That means you can resort to captive energy.
Yeah, where I can consume that locally. And the location of the place, the location of the power generation company, I'm thinking of, can't I create a oil and gas service harbor here? Can't I set up a logistics center here? Because it's close to the Atlantic Ocean, and a lot of people need this gas, and we've prepared for this gas.
We're told that states can actually create a state's electricity regulatory board or something like that.
Well, I don't think that's allowed. I don't think so. I'm not a lawyer. I've not checked the law very well. Let me not dabble into areas that is not my core competence. I've not checked that very well, but I don't think you're allowed to do that. Because even right now, even if you take, for example, distribution, a lot of the assets you see in the state today on distribution network is actually owned by the state. But we don't get any revenue. And as a state governor, what you're sitting here to do is, first of all, you look at your people. All you want is for them to have light. And you know, in Nigeria, anything that happens, no matter what happens anywhere, is the governor that is to blame. There's no light. Nobody cares to know that there's generation, transmission, and distribution. All they know is we don't have light. So as a state governor, you do everything to see how you can actually bridge. So nobody waits to find out whether distribution company has a transformer, has a cable. Once you have those issues, if you get into the government house premises right now, at the point in time we had over 1,000 transformers that we bought so that we can actually take care of all the localities. But as of today, I will tell you our electricity coverage is more than 98%. And our target is 100% before I leave office, and I will achieve it. And let me get back to the captive electricity that you mentioned that I want to do with the extra train, because I cannot evacuate all. So now we're looking at, I'm not an engineer, but what engineers told me is that there's a special kind of transformer they can actually install that can actually make me, at the very worst out of that, can make me take that light and give to, you know, the captive local government areas. Yeah. And that should be able to cover like 4 local government areas. But even with that, I don't have the, you know, the full of everything to do it myself. The transmission company must still come in. A lot of other players that you don't have control over will still come in. But I still hope we'll be able
bulk traders.
No, you don't need bulk trader in this case. I mean, it's a local consumption plan that we're trying to make.
Again.
But by and large, in the overall assessment, but I think electricity had improved tremendously in Akwa Ibom State. In fact, there was a time just before Christmas last year in some localities where we don't have challenges. And mind you, the challenges are enormous because at times you can even generate, transmit, but you may not have the infrastructure for distribution because some of these cables, transformers, and as of today, even in terms of distribution, we're still investing a whole lot. I'm building 2 mega, you know, substations that can actually take care of some of these distributions within the Uyo metropolis areas. But in other smaller communities, some of them could boast of 10, 15, 18 hours of electricity on the average.